Howdy everybody, my name is Philip Shepard. I'm a local real estate agent located right here in Northwest Arkansas. And today we're talking about Arkansas homes. Some of the differences you'll see around Arkansas homes on the inside, the outside, and kind of all around the whole area. So let's talk about that. But before we begin, if you could like this video right down there and also subscribe, that would make the world of difference. I try to produce as much content as humanly possible about Northwest Arkansas. I just want to make sure that my content goes in front of the right people at the right time looking to move here. Hey, that could be you. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. All right, and so the first weird thing, different thing about Northwest Arkansas, maybe Arkansas in general, and maybe kind of like the southern Midwest area, is the fact that there are no basements here. Let's just call it for what it is. There are no basements. Coming from Illinois, we love basements there because we can finish them out. We can have pool tables down there. We have all the storage down there. Not in Arkansas. We'll talk about a solution in a little bit, but there are no basements here. And part of the reason why there's no basements is there's a lot of rock underground in Northwest Arkansas. And it's maybe all of like Oklahoma or Missouri, basically the Ozarks is a very rocky place. And so it becomes very expensive to actually dig down and actually make a basement. And so it just becomes fiscally, it just doesn't make sense. And so that's why a lot of times you don't have natural gas necessarily running to your house. There is a lot of natural gas lines across the state, of course. But if you start getting into the country a little bit, you're not going to have that natural gas because of the fact that it takes so much money to just like drill out all the rock to get natural gas. Now in Illinois, you could literally just like throw a pipe on the ground and it would sink. It'd be fine, not a problem. But here in Arkansas, rocks, it turns out it's hard to get through rocks. And secondly, this is part of the solution when it comes to the no basements, but in Arkansas, there are very, very tall roof lines here. Now, it's funny because when in Illinois, we have just, I would consider normal roof lines like this, but as soon as you come down to Arkansas, they go steep. And the reason being is because there's obviously a lot more heat down here than Illinois, obviously from Chicago, or maybe you're from the Pacific Northwest, or even California. And so the roof lines are really steep here is because they obviously want to capture the heat, and there's a lot of heat vents on top of there as well. But on top of that, they use that for storage instead of the basement. So a lot of times when you start looking at homes around the area, you'll notice like a pull down, like a walk up actually attic. And so a lot of times people will stick like Christmas lights up there and other sorts of things that you just don't want to keep in your basement. Now, little side note, don't put candles up there. I happen to know somebody who did that and they did not turn out well for them. So kind of keep that in mind. If you do end up bringing some things that are more heat sensitive, don't put them in the attic. Just a little warning there. Ooh. That reminds me. I have a 3-day itinerary. So maybe you're thinking about coming down to Northwest Arkansas and you quickly realize like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do because there's so much to do. There's a 3-day itinerary linked down below for you. So maybe you're a adventurer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you're a sightseer, maybe you're a foodie, maybe you have kids. There's a 3-day itinerary linked down below for you. So just go ahead and download it and use it when you come down here. Also, when you do come down here, I can give you the $10 tour so I can kind of show you around the whole area, give you the tour, of course. And also we can check out some homes for sale or for rent and see how far your dollar will go in Northwest Arkansas compared to where you're coming from. And thirdly, one of the interesting things about Northwest Arkansas and the homes here, and this kind of blew my mind coming from Chicago, and let me get right to the point. The difference is that the grass here is not the crown jewel. So if you are kind of in a more temperate environment when it comes to like more like colder winters and more extreme summers like Illinois and Chicago or Wisconsin or like Iowa, your grass is very, very important to you. It's just kind of like a Midwestern thing. Like you gotta mow the grass, you gotta keep on top of it. If there's weeds in there, it's pathetic. But here in Arkansas, the grass is not the pride jewel around here. It's not the crown jewel, to say the least. Doesn't mean that people don't take care of the grass. It doesn't mean you can't have a great looking grass. It just means that people aren't as concerned about the grass. People obviously mow their grass, but they're not gonna like hire all the services out and get all the weeds out and aerate them and dethatch them. Just isn't really gonna happen per se. So it's not the crown jewel around here. Now, what is the crown jewel, oftentimes I would say, are usually trees and more landscaping stuff. People care more about that than the grass itself. So keep that in mind if you are kind of a grass fanatic. Know you can live your wildest grass dreams here, but just know your neighbor might not see it the same way you do. And also one of the interesting things here, and this is definitely a rock theme, if you're starting to get this concept here, there is a lot of block and brick and rock around here altogether. So a lot of the times the homes are built with like a brick fascia, and that is like the common theme built around here. Now the reason being is because brick is a little bit cheaper to get here and like manufacture here and the whole sorts. Because obviously there's a plethora of just like we'll call stony material that can be used for brick. So it's very cheap. I wouldn't say cheap, but it's more affordable down here than you would consider in the Midwest. And concrete is also very affordable as well. So a lot of times people will be more amped to, putting down a concrete pad versus a deck, for instance, or a wooden deck. Usually sometimes it's more affordable and just makes more sense to do a block patio versus a wooden deck. So a lot of times with homes around here, they're going to do a brick fascia. They still obviously use siding a lot of times, maybe like brick on the first 3/4, the front, and 3/4 around, and then maybe vinyl on the back. But oftentimes, if you're going to purchase a home in Northwest Arkansas, there's a good chance it's going to be a brick fascia, because it's pretty affordable around here. And also, it's very good on when it comes to like the heat, and it kind of keep things much tighter and a little less weathered. It's obviously a lot more maintenance proof, so to speak. And last but certainly not least, one of the most interesting things about Northwest Arkansas when it comes to roofs around here, going back to the steep roofs, also storing stuff in the roof, no one ever really replaces the roof. Now, what I mean by that, it doesn't mean that roofs don't get replaced around here, is the fact that every 10 years or so, there's kind of a hailstorm that will come through and will damage your roof, and then the insurance will come through and just take care of it for you. Now, obviously, not everyone does this, but it's kind of recommended that if you kind of have a roof it's kind of like towards the tail end of its life, you might want to just hang on a couple years, let a couple storms roll through, and then let the hail come if it comes, and then do what you need to do. Obviously, if you need to call your insurance broker and make sure that there's damage to the roof, not a problem. Obviously, I don't need to tell this to you, but it does affect your insurance policy. But is it the cost advantage is to actually install a roof yourself or claim it on your insurance? That's up to you. But a lot of times people will actually just wait for the next hailstorm to come through. They don't come around all that often, but every 5 to 7 years there might be a hailstorm that comes through different parts of the city, and then those people will probably get new roofs right away. So that's one thing to consider if you're moving down here, is that you just hold on to the roofs. You don't get too ambitious about replacing the roof just yet. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you are thinking about moving down to Northwest Arkansas, download my 3-day itinerary link below. Maybe you're a foodie, maybe you're an adventurer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you have kids. There's a 3-day itinerary link down below for you. Also, when you do come down here, I can give you the $10 tour so I can show you around the whole area. Plus, we can check out some homes for sale or for rent and see how far your dollar will go in Northwest Arkansas compared to where we're coming from. All right, guys, let's see you in the next one.